listen to Freshly Squeezed.
And he said, well, I'm not sure immigration are going to let you, and they tried to stop me. And I managed to get a way in. I don't even know how I did it, but I managed to get in.
Hello, shall we do some squeezing? And when I say squeezing, what I mean is having a bit of a listen to some of the best new music going and speaking to the little geniuses who made it. This is Freshly Squeezed, a new music podcast. I'm Jim, and maybe today is the day that you discover your next favourite band. 3 to pick from on today's pod. Making a return to the Freshly Squeezed playlist as they prepare for the release of their debut album with a new, big, sing-along indie anthem to share, Crystal Tides on the way. That's new single Better Weather, and they need some help with something too. If you're someone who likes to think of themselves as a bit of a new music champion, a supporter of the scene, hang about to see what's required and what you can do. Also, in a bit, you're going to hear new music from a band who have been on a bit of a hiatus, almost a decade in fact. Manchester shoegaze on the way from Mayflower.
I ordered something I want you to take to get you on your feet again. You made it, you've beaten the wall.
Cool, that isn't it? We're going to be reconnecting with the band very soon. If you're new here and that sounds like your cup of tea, get that follow button smashed in your podcast app so you get the new shows as they drop every single week. But let's get started properly. And we're starting this show with something a bit different for Freshly Squeezed, but something theatric, something cinematic, and something very special. I'll be chatting to Jasmine Power very soon, but first, here's a taste of her brand new tune. It's called Leap.
Sometimes I wonder how to do this now. When you stop me in my tracks, I found all those years of independence drowned. Sometimes I wish that you could come with me to see the woman of your dreams taking on this brand new town. But I have to go, I have so much to say. Kiss me goodbye when I step on that train. I'll make you proud, lift off the ground out there. I'll sing to crowds, I'll make it loud so you can hear. I'll run around just like a dancing chair. Walk with my heart until I start to wear and tear. Then I'll come home to all the little things we have back to
Cool song that, right? And it's got a cool story behind it, which I'll let Jasmine tell us all about because she's here on Freshly Squeezed. Welcome, Jasmine.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
So talk me through where you are now. Where are we having this chat? What's your location?
I am in a woodland in West Wales, which is where I live, in the middle of nowhere.
Nice. So if you look out the window, is it literally just trees you can see in front of you?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's no light, so at night the stars are super, super bright, and the owls send me to sleep, and I get woken by the squirrels in the night running across my roof, and the birds at 5 a.m. in springtime. It's pretty magical, yeah. And every morning I get up and I take a walk, about a 45-minute loop walk through the woodland along the river, just to kind of set my day, really.
Is this something you've sought out? Because being a musician, often you get drawn to the bright lights of a city like London, but here you've kind of found isolation and tranquility. Is that something you needed in your life, or is it by accident you've ended up in this situation?
No, it was extremely intentional, yeah. Although you could say I had a bit of a roller coaster ride. So I did spend a few years in London and a few years in Nashville working as a songwriter for others out there. And then during the pandemic, lots happened and I had to come home for a while. And in that time, I just realized how much I missed the seaside. and my home community, my family, and just having that ability to get away from the industry, in all honesty, and just be an artist without the industry. And I think to be truly creative and authentic with integrity and to keep that sense of integrity, you have to live where you feel as an individual like you can breathe.
It's a relevant conversation, particularly with the new tune Leap, because I know that tune is about making that move from your hometown out to Nashville in the first place. At what stage of the journey did this song come about? Was it when you were out there, you kind of had this realization that you missed home and wanted a place of belonging, or was it something that you've only kind of recently reflected on and been able to articulate?
When I was out there, we used to drive, for miles and miles in the truck, me and my partner at the time, to go and find some countryside where we could escape the noise of the city and the noise of downtown and all the country music, which I do love, by the way. And there was just this feeling of suffocation not being by the sea. And I remember we had one conversation planning a trip to the sea, and we realized it was 8 hours drive away. And in that moment, I realized I can't do this anymore. It's not what I'm made of. It's not where I come from. I come from, anytime I have a feeling of panic or fear or like I don't understand what life's about, I would always run to the edge of the cliff top that I grew up on, and I'd look out and it would be this infinite scope of, the sea, of the Irish Sea. And for me and my spirit, I need that. And I think I pushed myself maybe a little bit too long to stay in landlocked places like London and Nashville, and didn't quite realize how much I was losing my mind in the process. But the song appeared in 40 minutes. It's the fastest song I've ever written in my whole life. A muse just appeared. Basically, it came from saying goodbye to home, one of the many trips to Nashville I was doing on my own at the time, saying goodbye to my partner, my family, not knowing how long I was going to be out there, but planning to stay at least a few months at a time, and getting on that train and doing it, but bawling my eyes out the whole way and not really knowing where I belonged, but knowing I had to take that leap. I had to take that leap because I have so much to say. It's exactly the lines of the song. But I have to go. I have so much to say. Kiss me goodbye and I'll be on my way. I'll get on that train. It's quite explanatory, this song. It's not one of my most metaphorical songs. It's quite self-explanatory. And when I arrived, I went to my producer's house and I bawled my eyes out. I said, I don't know how to do this anymore. This is the fourth time I'm doing this and I sacrificed so much. And he said, well, let's write a song. I said, okay, can we make it upbeat? Because I don't ever write upbeat songs and I would like to write an upbeat song. And he picked up the guitar and he played a riff, and the rest was history. It just flowed out of me, every lyric, every melody. And he said, okay, now we're going to record. And we produced it the same day. And then I sent it to my partner at the time and I said, this is a gift for you. A gift for you and my home. It's an amalgamation of things. It's not just about leaving one loved one. It's about the time and space that you sacrifice to take a leap and to pursue your dreams.
In terms of that writing spell, that 40 minutes from sitting down and having the final track, I mean, it's a massive cinematic tune. How does it work in your head when you're writing? Is it that you hear a song and it is fully formed, you hear those layers, you hear that cinematic, theatrical nature, or is it that it does start more simply with like a melody or a piano line?
Oh, that's such an interesting question. I went through a period when I was at music college in London where I just listened to movie scores, film soundtracks, and I didn't listen to pop music during those years. I only listened to classical music, jazz, and film soundtracks. And I used to just imagine all the scenes that were, taking place in the film soundtrack before I'd even seen the film. And by the time I got to see the film, I could often sing the melodies that were coming. I knew exactly the cues that were coming in the music. So I would say sometimes I think about it, but in all honesty, I don't usually overthink it. I think it's years of growing up with varied musical input from my mum, from my dad, from my surroundings, and everything else that I love from my time in Nashville. And I think it just all comes together. And if I'm inspired by my fellow co-writer or by my own piano riff or my own chords, then usually the melody appears. I'm afraid to say that is the truth. I don't overthink it. I don't like to overthink it. And if people try to make me overthink it, I often say, actually, I'm not going to do that because my intuition is usually right. With lyrics are a bit different. Like for Leap, it was unbelievably fluid and easy. I mean, all the lyrics just came out. We tweaked them a little bit and I said, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think about that? But again, so I would say the fundamentals of the song were written in 40 minutes, and maybe I spent another 30 minutes after that refining the lyrics. But with melodies and the cinematic nature of many of my songs, not just Leap, I think that's down to how inspired I'm feeling by my fellow co-writer or by the vibe of the music. You know, if the vibe of the music initiates that, I'm away to go. I'm inspired and I love it. It just, it flows.
Speaking of inspiration, you did say that you wanted this song to empower other people to take a trip or make a change or do the thing that scares them as you experienced. Have you had any, I know it's a new song and it's kind of relatively new in the world, but have you had any direct feedback to that effect yet?
I have. I've had many people actually say to me how inspiring it feels and how uplifting it is as a song. And I think that's what got me thinking this needed to be my first release, whilst relaunching my artist career, because these are hard times. We're not in an easy world right now. Things are changing fast and there's so much fear out there. There are so many wars, and I just felt that it's all well and good to make introspective music and, very deep, heartfelt music, which I also do. But I felt that people need inspiration right now. People need to realize, actually, do you know what? It's going to be okay. And let's come back to ourselves.
Is it? Are you sure?
Take that leap. Maybe I'm an optimist, but I just don't think we don't have any other option these days. That's how it feels to me anyway. Yeah, so I think the real moment where I realized this was the song that was going to inspire people the most out of the majority of my catalogue was when I found out a friend of mine had passed away suddenly at the end of the COVID period. And I was sat in the chapel practicing on the grand piano that I was gifted by a friend, where I practice, by the way, which is always very, very cold. So it always inspires kind of strange songs in that space. I felt this feeling of complete and utter darkness, like a feeling of death in myself after losing my grandfather and this friend. And I remember just playing Leap. I put Leap on with a Bluetooth speaker in the chapel. I thought, I'm just going to take a listen to this song just to remind myself of who I am and what I'm able to create. And within minutes, I was dancing around the chapel. I was like elated. I was dancing to my own song around the chapel thinking, oh my God, I have to go back to Nashville. It doesn't matter if I feel like death. I have to go and share my music with the world. And I remember running out the chapel, locking the door, calling my manager at the time and saying, I'm coming back. And he said, well, I'm not sure immigration are going to let you, And I said, I don't care. I'll find a way. And I did find a way. Within a week, I'd bought my flight. Within 2 weeks, I was at the airport. And they tried to stop me. And I managed to get a way in. I don't even know how I did it, but I managed to get in. And it was all thanks to Leap. My hope is that it will inspire other people to just take that chance, to literally just take that leap into, your dream life. Or it doesn't even have to be that big. It could be something small. It could be asking someone you like out, or going to speak with a friend you've stopped communicating with, or making up with your father before it's too late. Anything, but just to take that leap. I feel that that's really important.
Jasmine, it's a great message, it's a great story, and importantly, it's a great tune as well. We're going to play it on Freshly Squeezed, but really nice to speak to you, and cheers for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
Kiss me goodbye when I step on the track. I'll make you proud. Leap off the ground, I'll sing to crowds. I'll make it loud so you can hear. I'll run around just like a dancing jet. Walk with my heart until I start to wear and tear. Then I'll come home to all the little things we have.
know I've got a leaning towards that big old indie anthem stuff, but every now and again, a song like that from Jasmine Power drifts across my consciousness and just can't help fall in love with it a little bit. Absolute belter. Speaking of those big old indie anthems though, that is the modus operandi of Crystal Tides, and we had them on a few months back at the very start of their campaign for their debut album, and now Billy is back because that album is only weeks, maybe even days away. How you doing, mate?
Very, very well. Thanks for having us again.
Last time we spoke, it was back in August. You were just about to release the first single off the debut album, which is on the way, and you were on a train heading to see Oasis at the time. How was it?
The gig was
Yeah.
amazing. It was very, very good. Yeah, it was really, really good. Really good fun. So glad I went.
When you come away from a gig like that, a big show where you've seen kind of a legendary band like Oasis on stage, as someone who's in a band, do you come away feeling inspired? Does it make you feel impatient to one day be doing the same thing or getting somewhere close?
I think so. Definitely inspired to see like how capable guitar music is of growing to such a level. And I think it's great to see such a resurgence of like that guitar music and what Oasis have brought all through the years of me being when I was young, and even now when I'm an adult, they're still doing it, and it's still such a iconic thing for music. So I think, yeah, really, really inspirational to watch it and be like, it's like a legacy, isn't it? That's lasted forever, and I'd love our music, Crystal Tides' music, to last forever as well.
Well, a big moment in terms of getting to that point where, as a band, Crystal Tides have had arguments, split up, got back together, started playing Wembley Stadium, is releasing a debut album, and you're only a couple of weeks away from releasing that debut album. Toothpaste comes out on the 6th of February. What's the mood in the camp like at this moment where the release of the album is within touching distance?
It's good. I think all in all, fairly positive. There's always stress, there's always tension. I think we've never done this. We've never done an album, and we sort of set ourselves maybe a bit of an unrealistic goal of trying to become the first independent band from Portsmouth to chart an album in the top 40. So I think because of setting that goal, it's made it a little bit more stressful, perhaps, trying to hit certain numbers, trying to make sure that we're getting enough sales in certain places. But all in all, as a whole, everyone's really happy with the response. Like, the fans have been really, really good, really, really supportive. And I think what's great about our fans is that we sort of set this goal, and it seemed like it wasn't just our goal. They sort of made it their goal as well to help us get and achieve this thing. I won't lie, I'll be excited once it's out, probably more so to like start gigging it and like actually playing it and getting on stage. I think that's sort of where Crystal Tides really, really shines on stage. The one thing I'd love it if I didn't have to work a normal job alongside doing it, because then I could put 10 times the amount more effort into it. But unfortunately, bills need to be paid. So,
Well, you mentioned the fact it is being done independently. You are an independent band. Does that impact the choices you make along that journey? Do you look at it and kind of go, well, we'd like to do X, but we're funding it ourselves and I don't want to forgo my holiday and the Costa del Sol, so instead we're going to have to do Y. Do you have to make those difficult choices along the way?
yeah, I think so. I think our budget only takes us so far, especially in terms of marketing and promotion, which is obviously a very big thing when you're selling an album and trying to chart it. I think even in like with the majors and stuff, like the difference between a number one album and a top 10 album is just a marketing campaign. How much money goes into that marketing campaign, and where we are doing completely ourselves, all of our money that we've earned over the years is going into this campaign. It still won't be anywhere near as much as one of the big players coming in and going, oh yeah, we're going to spend 200, 300,000 pounds on this artist.
Sure.
So it's definitely been hard, but I think we've got a really, really good team around us, and we've got a really like great group of people that are really supportive, and it's all about finding ways that we can make it work for us.
You said when we spoke last time, Movies was the song that was released, first single off the album, which was back in August, like I said.
Yeah.
You said that had been the easiest choice in terms of selecting singles, but there were going to be harder choices that came closer to the release.
Yeah.
So we're now at that point where this is the fifth single to come from the album, Better Weather, the last single before the record drops. Was this one of those hard decisions? Were there discussions, arguments within the band whether this was going to be one of those chosen few?
This was probably the toughest decision for all of them. But I think the way that we got to deciding this single was actually the best way that we could get to it. We run a sort of subscription service for our fans, and the band itself were discussing constantly out of 3 songs which one the single should be. And it changed weekly. It was like, oh, it's going to be this, and then it changed, and then it was going to be this, and then it changed. So we were like, right, we can't keep doing this because we're never going to decide. So we said to like this close group of fans, the subscribers, we said like, look, we're going to play 3 songs. We're not going to tell you anything about them. We just want you all to vote which one's your favourite. So we did it. We jumped on a Zoom call with a load of our fans, and we played all 3 songs 3 times over the Zoom call. So they had a few times to listen to it. And we set up a anonymous voting form. And the song that is the single was picked by the fans.
Nice.
So it was one of those moments, like it took a really, really long time to get there. But now looking at it, it's actually a song picked by the fans for the fans, which sometimes you sort of get wrapped up in, oh, I want this song because it means this to me and blah, 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 blah. But actually what's important in music is you got to please the fans. Like they're the ones coming to your shows. They're the ones listening to your music. So they chose this song, which is really, really good for us because it's like, oh, actually, when they picked it and we started the campaign, we were like, we're so glad we did this song. We're super happy with it.
So who in the band was proved right? Who won the argument as far as that's concerned? I love the idea it's a fan choice, but someone's got to be feeling pretty smug.
Weirdly, the one that was the fan choice wasn't in the top 2 of the 3. It was at the bottom. It was like it was the rogue entry. So the band was split over 2 songs, and this single was not one of them.
Wow.
But when we showed the fans, we put this one in with them, and yeah, this one. So it was a bit like all of the band were a bit like, oh, maybe we all got it wrong.
Do you know what? I can 100% hear why it would be the one that fans gravitate towards, because it's got that thing that I think you do really well as a band. You have those, and you kind of touched on it a minute ago, those kind of big communal sing-along moments, and it feels like it would translate really well to being live. So I can see how that decision was made. I can see why people came to that choice.
Yeah.
So this album, I know, started its journey as voice notes between you and the band. I'm interested, have you sat down recently and kind of listened back to those initial voice notes and maybe the final versions of tunes? And do you recognise the two? Can you see the journey between those 2 elements?
Yeah. So one of the things that we sort of sent out to some of the subscribers was, with the singles especially, we sent out the original voice notes where the songs begun. So it was really nice for like myself to like listen back to when I've recorded them in my old house, like just on an acoustic, and like I'm humming a melody and with no words sort of thing. And it's like, sometimes there's words, sometimes there isn't. And then to like listen to where the song got to, it's really cool. It's actually, it's really cool feeling to actually go, oh, that's where that started and that's where it finished.
Billy, I'm gunning for you. I want this to get into the top 40 and be the first Portsmouth band on an independent basis to get into the charts. It's an absolutely cracking album, and thanks again for coming on Freshly Squeezed. We'll get the brand new single, Better Weather, on Freshly Squeezed, but nice one and good luck.
Thank you very much. Cheers for having us.
New from Crystal Tides, that's Better Weather. You know what you need to do, right? The album deserves to be in the top 40. It deserves to get a chart position. There is a limited number of signed, coloured vinyls that you can buy. I've got mine ordered. You can order that if you really like it. It's a great way to support any new music because a physical album, a vinyl, is worth about 1 trillion downloads. But even just listening to the album when it drops on streaming services goes a long way to supporting their cause and getting them that chart position. 6th of February is the release date, and I've linked to the band's Spotify page in the podcast description, so you can find it there dead easily when the time comes. Give them a listen, get behind them for that chart position. Final band on this week's episode is from my neck of the woods in Manchester. Do you know what? I'm not sure I've ever done a podcast without at least one Manchester band in it somewhere. This lot are called Mayflower, and Ollie and Mike are on the pod. Welcome, boys.
Hello, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
So this version of Mayflower is going a couple of years, but prior to that, you were making music as a band between 2014 2017. So what was the reason for that big pause, that 8-year hiatus between what you were doing then and what you're doing now?
Just to keep the fans in suspense, really. Well, I think we were really young when we started the band. I think all of us were just ready to, we'd been every Friday, Saturday night since we were about 20 to 24 was spent in a rehearsal room. And I think we reached that point where we just wanted to try other things in life. We got some successes, but I don't think we were necessarily playing massive sellout gigs or anything like that. I think we'd kind of hit a plateau, if I'm being completely frank. I moved to London for a few years. Jim, the drummer at the time, went off to Berlin, and we all just started to get a life really outside of music. And I think we had this realization after a few year hiatus that it was just one of the, without sounding cringy, one of the happiest times of our life was playing music together. Like, we're not natural musicians. The only time we ever picked up our instruments was when we were in a room together. So no one was in any of the bands or had even touched their guitars or bass for about 7 years. And we had such a good time getting back in the room. Yeah, I just went for booking some studio time. We'd had some songs lying around for a while, and then one thing led to another. When
you look at your Spotify profile, it kind of looks like when you get someone that goes to a job interview and you look at their CV and they've got this 8-year career break where they've gone and travelled around the Far East or something like that. There is a kind of appearance of that. You've got the old stuff and you've got the new stuff. And musically, there's a continuation there, but there is a slight shift at the same time as well. Was there no temptation to kind of go, right, we did that. We were Mayflower in 2014. It's now 2026. We're going to be something else, fly under a different flag?
It was a mixture of both, though, wasn't it, really? So our latest release was Drifter, but the one before it was Oz. And that tune was initially called Babyland. And that was like the last tune that we jammed as like a full band back in 2017. Yeah. So when we did come back, we sort of picked that one back up. But it was very much like Ollie writing new material, but also keeping that old sound as well, sort of in the background at the same time, which I like marry the two together.
Yeah, I think we had unfinished business. I thought we made a really good start first time round. We got a bit of vibe going in the local gigging scene. We got some really decent coverage. And I think we just lost momentum. But in reality, I think the chemistry is still great. I think the songwriting and the way that we collaborate is still all there. So I think if we kind of tried to reinvent ourselves, it would be something that sounded and looked incredibly similar, but was ever so slightly different. So yeah, why not just pick back up?
With that success you did have back first time around, have you found now you've come back together and started releasing music, have you re-engaged with the old fan base, or does it feel like it's fresh faces, fresh ears this time around?
Yeah, it's a good point, because I think 8 years is quite a long time, really. So I think one of the main areas of continuity has been the gigging scene. Like, we managed to retain a lot of our old sort of promoters, etc. But I think what's been quite a fresh new challenge is the game's slightly different, and it's very social media orientated now. Back in the day, I think we had a bit of a crappy logo, and one post on Facebook a month was probably enough to secure you a 6 music slot. So now it's sort of once a day across 4 different social media engines, which took a bit of getting used to. So I'd say in some respects we picked up, i.e. the gigging. In every other way, we're having to start afresh, but I think it's been really good to do that. It's felt very much the same band, but we've almost been forced into really having to rebuild from scratch.
Mike, you mentioned the brand new tune Drifter a moment ago. It's a really atmospheric song. It's kind of shoegazy, and I'll be honest with you, when I listened to it, found it hard to pigeonhole it, hard to categorize it, which I know bands hate anyway when you do that, so it's maybe not a bad thing. So instead of me doing that, I'm going to make you do it, and I'm going to invite you boys to step inside my Mind HMV. So this is like Sherlock's Mind Palace, if you've ever seen that. It's like a mental music store that I have in my head where I categorize and store all the music I've ever heard, and what I want you to do is put Drifter somewhere on the shelves, okay?
What the hell? To be fair, so Drifter's an unusual one for us because typically Ollie's like the main songwriter, essentially, kind of always has been. Ollie would work on some chords at home, bring it to rehearsal, send it over, whatever, and then we sort of work like that way. But with Drifter, it was actually Jake, our guitarist, Jake, you see. I think he was just noodling around at home and had just these 2 chords pretty much and sent it to Ollie. I think Ollie was then sort of kind of restricted by it, but in like a good way. That sounds like a bad thing, but Ollie on his own would do like a 6-7 chord tune, like really beautiful sort of melodies and stuff. But with this one, because he had to sort of stick to these 2 chords, whatever that JKC had written, it became like a new sound for us, essentially. So I think we've struggled to sort of, I don't know, identify it ourselves.
Just whack it in the new music section and leave it.
I'm afraid that doesn't exist. Well, I say it doesn't exist. You can see above your heads, if you look up there, kind of loads of genres and categories. There's a sign for jazz, rock, punk, all the normal ones. But the beauty of the Mind HMV is all you have to do is think of a genre and it appears. It can be wherever, whatever you want, wherever you fancy putting it. So where are you going if you had to come up with a genre?
I'd put it in like a Manchester genre.
Okay.
Because I think with some of our tunes, there's a little bit of everything Mancunian about it. It probably reflects our influences, which kind of just about cover most of Manchester and Mersey beat. But yeah, I'd go for a kind of Manchester sound.
That's really interesting because one of the thoughts I had when I was listening to you, because I know you are from Manchester, is I don't hear a lot of Manchester heritage in there. Like, I don't hear a huge amount of like the big names you associate with this city, or Oasis, Joy Division. Maybe there's a touch of Doves, actually, that kind of band. What specifically are the touch points there for you?
Well, maybe I'm just hearing what I want to hear. But I've always been very inspired by big melodies, to be honest, quite traditional verse chorus structure. Whenever Jake's got his guitar out, to me it's always sounded like there's a flavour of the Stone Roses. He loves his Bill Ryder Jones, his Coral. Mike always loved your Joy Division. It's hard for me to pick out. It's just a feeling.
Hey, do you know what? We can just put it under Mayflower, if you like. That could be a genre all of its own.
Give it a few years. I'm sure it will have its own section, HMV. So this will be the first one in the collection.
Right, this might be slightly easier because next we need to put it on a shelf, and we don't do it alphabetically. It's organised by influences. So the New Tune Drifter needs to sit between 2 other songs or 2 other albums that have influenced its sound. So maybe there's 2 of you. Maybe you pick one for either side. What's going on?
Jake would be the perfect man to ask because he wrote the actual tune. But I don't know, listen to it and come up with like, I'll just speak about the bass line, like just in particular. But I mean, it's like Peter Hook, because that's the first sort of bassist I used to listen to, sort of when I first picked up the bass. So it's all like quite high sort of melody lines, stuff like that. That's the stuff that I sort of lock into and focus on. I don't know, rather like atmosphere sort of bass line type vibe.
So I wrote the lyrics and the melody, Jake up the music, so you're right, he's probably best to speak about that. But I would say there was a bit of a Smith's mood on it. This Night Has Opened My Eyes, just sort of quite low key, slightly morbid. Yeah, that sort of atmosphere on the lyrics melody piece.
Okay. Well, it's good to do this. I like doing this because it frames the song for when we play it, and maybe it means that I will listen to it slightly differently now, and whoever else is listening will listen differently. So Joy Division on one side, Smiths on the other. Ollie, Mike, cheers for coming on.
Thanks so much, Jim.
Thanks, Alex.
When outside thought I was alone, everything had followed me home. I was carrying the weight of the world, strung low, but gazing upwards, the type of pain that you couldn't heal, resurfaced and then brought me to heal, like a drifter who's been through it all, carrying the weight of the world. Shout, but you're so far away. You climb, but you cannot break. The time we were slipping away, I want you to know, trying to keep the shadows at bay.
That's Mayflower, brand new tune, Drifter. And you know what? Now the boys have said it, I can hear a little bit of Manchester in that tune, a little bit of the heritage, especially in the bass line. The influences are hookier there. Nice. So, if you want more from them, or Crystal Tides, or Jasmine Power, you know where to find it. Down in the podcast description, there are links to more from those artists via their Spotify pages. Go and explore. Also, you'll find a link to the Freshly Squeezed New Music playlist, which serves up 10 of my favourite tunes each week on a Friday, just in time for whatever car journey or exercise or DIY that you might have planned for that weekend, and you just need some cool bops to help you get through it. You can give that one a follow as well. So, I'm done for this week. Have a good one. See you for the next episode if you've hit that follow button. And most importantly, as always, cheers Furious.
The award-winning Freshly Squeezed, a new music podcast, was devised, produced and hosted by Jim Salveson. Sound design and additional production by Arthur Conley. The music, Blue Blazer, is written and produced by Spin Class. Stop.